Do you really want to leave that much money? Really? All right. So I'm working on my book here, and you can see, as I always do, I just write notes upon notes upon notes upon notes, and you can't read all that, but I can. There's a method to my chicken scratch. I hope I can remember what it is. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and I got to do a lot of duplicating. By the way, I secured my vote. I voted for Kamala, all right, because we have secure votes here in Georgia. I voted for Kamala. I didn't intend to, but I did. You know what I'm saying. Wink, wink, huh? All right, so let's check this out. So I'm going into using my man Daniel Coolerbert's bucket strategy here, and we're doing a couple things. So I'm going to cut to the chase here, actually. Let me just show what's going on. So basically, we're using the Wellington right now, because Wellington can go back a number of times. The drawback is Wellesley only goes back to 1970, and so we don't have a huge amount of time. I think we only had, for Wellesley, we had, how many times here? 24 30-year rolling times. That's it. So 24 from 1971, because the first full year is 1971. We only have 24 30-year rolling periods. Interestingly enough, when he took 6% a year, is that 6%? Yeah, 6% a year out, adjusted for inflation, Wellesley only ran out of money 5 times, so 20% of the time. That's pretty good. That's 6% a year adjusted for inflation. But we only have 24 a sample size, so not enough to make me say, "Oh, that's great." Wellington, on the other hand, has a whole lot more. So, anyway, it's very interesting. So, what I'm doing here is I'm using Wellington. I'm using the S&P 500, Wellington, and Wellesley. I'm kind of S&P all stocks. Wellington 60, 65, 35. Wellesley 40, 60, along those lines. All right. And what we're trying to do is just get a gauge of what strategy worked the best historically, and then with a Monte Carlo probability going forward as well. So that's the premise here. I know it's a lot to chomp on. It'll make sense when I finish up my book. But because we don't have enough time for Wellesley, the default should be Wellington because it has the bonds in there as well. And so right here, I'm starting in 1936. All right. I'm taking 4% a year adjusted for inflation. All right, 4% a year adjusted for inflation. And we never run out of money. All right, so you can see what's going on here. So 40,000 becomes 45,000 the first year, and I'm taking the money out at the beginning of the year, by the way. All right, so 42,000, 41, because you can see there's deflation right here, so it goes down a little bit, and then we don't really ever have deflation again. I think at 59, or what was it? We had right there 55. We had a small amount of deflation. 49, not much. But anyway, so by the time it's all said and done, by the time 30 years are up, our 40,000 a year that we were taking out is now 91,000. But we have $3.1 million left over. 91,000 with 3.1 million. All right, so what I do is I just take those numbers. I said, okay, in 1936, when we're starting here, all right, how much is a 4% taken out? You can see right there. We took out 2 million total, and we have 3.138 million left over. All right, now 40,000 first year, 42,000, a little bit deflation, 40,000 again, 42, 47. You can see how that's working. All right, so we spent 2.03 million, but we had 3 million left over, and that's my whole premise. Did you really mean to leave that much to your kiddos? Because you didn't, obviously. I mean, you're just saying I'm following the 4% rule. But then watch what happens when I come up here and I do something a little bit differently. So here we're gonna do 80,000 a year. Now, obviously, if we adjusted that for inflation, we would have ran out of money in year 15. But we're not. We're going to do a reverse RMD. Basically, it's just 8% fixed. It's just literally just 8% fixed. But I got the numbers in here, so I said, let me just keep it like that. And you can see, not only did we never run out of money, but we were drawing 105,000 the first year. We got massively hit in 1937, so 60,000, 68, 68, 62. And what happens here, we're going to come back here, and we're going to say there's our 100,000. Major drop from 100 to 60,000, but even that 60,000, because the markets were down 35%, was still well above what you would do in the 4% rule. So it took until right here, right there, year 47, 1947. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 years in before the 4% rule supplanted our 8% essentially effect of 8% depending on the portfolio value. Does that make sense? So that was the first time we actually had more money in the 4% rule than we did in the 8% rule. But then, interestingly enough, we fast forward to right here, 1955, and then the 4% rule is less than the 8%. All right, very interesting. So here in the 8%, we're just taking 8% of the previous year's balance. That's all we're doing. So in 1955, because we had a nice little run from basically right from at the end of World War II, we had a nice little run of stocks. I actually were taking more out in the 8% rule than we're in the 4% rule, if that makes sense. So when all said and done, by the time we died, we actually took 100,000 more out of the 8% rule, 2.1 million versus 2.034 million. Now again, the bulk, we're taking 100,000, 68, 68, 62, 55, significantly more on the front end of our retirement. Now, it's going to be less on the back end, 91 to 68, 90 to 71, 89 to 71, 88 to 68, 87 to 79. So the back end of retirement, assuming we make it there, we're taking more out on the 4% rule than the 8%. And the reason is because we're taking so much from the get-go. But when all is said and done, we're still leaving $780,000 compared to $3 million by using the 4% rule. Did you really plan on leaving that much money? No. So how much did you leave? How much lifestyle did you avoid in these first basically 10 years of retirement just because you're so worried about running out of money? And you left a lot on the table. I'm not saying you got to die with zero, but man, that's a lot of money you could have used to have fun, to party like it's 1999. All right. So that's what I'm working on. Love your thoughts. Don't forget to like. All right. Aloha, guys. Aloha. And don't forget to vote for the Trumpster. God bless. We'll see you.